Yeah, morning. When I first come out here this morning, it was thunder, lightning, pouring rain, but it just broke up there about 20 minutes ago, and I think we're done with it now. So I can go ahead and start welding this thing back together and finishing her off. So yeah, that's the plan. First thing I got to do is clean up on both sides of the weld, so I got something nice, clean surface to weld, and yeah, we'll just get after it. Stick around. So probably the most important thing here when you're doing this is making sure that all these little lines and body rolls and what have you line up, right? Nothing worse than seeing a chop and this line is off, that line is off. It looks like hell. So I'm going to start with most of those. These big areas here, sometimes you need to put a relief cut in. Vertical to kind of help line things up. We'll see how it goes. You play it by ear and just go a piece at a time. See how we make out. So I'm going to go ahead, fire up the welder, and start tacking some stuff together here. All right, so I just get set up and bring the welder out, and what happens? A couple of raindrops. Not enough to make me stop though. So we're just going to go after it. Setting was a bit hot. This can be a tedious process. Okay, so I'm just going to carry on doing this, and when I get a section done, I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, so here's an example of a relief cut like I was talking about. So what happened was this seam here, this line, wanted to suck inward, right? And it was putting pressure on it. So I cut these two cuts, and that allowed me to move things around, and then it also helped me to line up this ridge right here. So if you see it right on, it's, you know, it's dead nuts. So I think you can see that. Anyway, so this is a nice straight line. So now I just got to play around with this. I think some of the reason there's tension on it was because of these dents up here. So once I pull them out and this is all welded together, we should be okay. And I'm using my little fancy schmancy clamps here. I think I've shown you these before, but to those of you who haven't seen them, basically that just fits right in that slot, and then you put this little squarish pin through this hole on the other side, tighten it up, and yeah, there you go. So a bit of room to weld. There. So I can carry on with welding and hammering this in and out and whichever way I've got to do it to make it work. And we're almost done this side. Do the same thing on the other side, and then I can go ahead and get on putting my window in. So yeah, it's moving along. It takes lots longer than I thought it would, but you know, it's tedious work. So all right, so she's welded up, and this corner anyway, and it's looking pretty good. There's some dents and stuff here, but I think once I get my window in, everything will be a little more solid, you know, so I can I'll be able to hammer and dolly these things out and get it straightened away. But overall, came out pretty good. So yeah, so I'm gonna do the same thing on the other corner, and then I'll be able to get my my window trimmed and welded in place. So yeah, I gotta line this up, clean all the shit off. Exact same thing as I did over here. So yeah, it's slow going though. All right, it's the next day, morning, and yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on in this corner here. Part of the problem was that it's been hit down here, so everything's kind of off a little bit. I've got it
partially tacked in on the side here, and the body roll and stuff is lined up. It's in good shape. I'm gonna have to do like I did over here. I'm gonna have to put in a couple of relief cuts so I can manipulate this and get it flush. So I'll show you a little closer here.
So anyway, these are the 2 relief cuts I did on this side, right? So I'm gonna have to do the same kind of thing here because I've got this problem. So, you know, it's quite a bit. Now, here's where it's been hit, and you can see that it's actually pushed in from the back panel. So I'm gonna have to pull that out, but I'll get this all welded up here first, get the back window in, get that all dialed in, then I'll worry about the bottom. And there's a bunch of stuff up top happening too. There's dents and dings and stuff all over the place. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and put in these 2, maybe 3 relief cuts on this side, and get this thing all lined up nice and purdy. I'm just getting them started enough to that I can get the sawzall in there and cut the rest of it with the sawzall. Oh, come on. Problem is the piece is too floppy and it's just wobbling in and out. It's not cutting. So I'll finish it with this.
I can play around with this and dial it in. All right, so I've got this fitting pretty nice right now. So I'm going to tack this all together. The only thing is that this is in too much. So after I weld it, tack it all together, I'm going to beat it out with a hammer and then just carry on lining this stuff up here. Also, you see there's kind of separated here from that bead. So I'm just going to push that in. I'm going to tack it to the bead itself. And because eventually I'm going to seal all this with seam sealer anyway. So yeah, I'll weld that up so it stays in position. Then after, when I bring this out, I can line up the bead and have everything good. As far as in a line, it's excellent, but you know, it's good and straight. But everything's kind of pushed in a little bit. So yeah, I'm gonna weld this up and weld that up, and then tap or bang it with a hammer and just carry on. All right, so it's tacked up pretty good. I've got my shape back. It's the shape I want, and yeah, it's all looking pretty good here. So I just got to finish it off. It's hotter than hell right now, so I don't want to get into too much welding right now, but I do want to get my rear window in. So all I'm doing with this is I'm going to just take, my chop was 3.5 inches, so I'll take 1 3/4 off the top, off the bottom, and it should sort of fit in the hole, I would think. So I started cleaning off my edges and that, and I got to do the same thing on this, cut it down, and yeah, get it tacked in place. And then from there, I'll take a break for a bit, let it cool off before I weld this in. There's a ton of welding here, man. So there we go. All right, so my window's tacked in place, at least the bottom, a couple of tacks on each side. That's where she's going. I'm going to cut into this in place, and it'll be easier. I think might even double cut, you know. That way I get a nice joint. And there's some bending and hammer welding and stuff like that to do. But yeah, for the most part, I'm kind of happy with it. I think it's good. Doesn't look weird. So yeah, that's about it. Just tons and tons of friggin' welding. But hey, that's a top job for you. So there you go. Good chunk of the back done. Like I said, I got a ton of welding, but I'm gonna take a break from it for a bit. It's 80 degrees out. So yeah, when it cools off after supper, I'll do some more welding. And then I got the 2 front pillars to do, and the center pillar on the driver's side. And there's not much there. It doesn't take long at all. The big part is welding around that whole back part, and that's why I did it first. And that's the hard part to line up, really. After that, the rest is pretty easy. I'm gonna have to get a roof insert as well. You noticed I peeled that crappy old galvanized piece of tin out of there. That was horrible. Made the car look better already. So yeah, you know, just gonna keep whacking away at her. There's still a bunch of other body work to do, a lot of dents to handle and take care of, some seams to straighten out and stuff like that. Then I still got to figure out that passenger door, because it's no good selling it without the door. I'm thinking the door might be easier to square up and line up if I cut the top off it. I got to chop it 3.5 anyway. Cut the top off it, work the 2 halves, so I got something that I can weld together and fit nicely and close and open and all those good things like a door should. So yeah, that's about it, I guess, for today. If you like the content, please subscribe. Truly would appreciate it. You know, tell your buddies and your chums. Great numbers on the previous video on this Model A, so I'm hoping for the same again. And yeah, just please subscribe. That's all I want. Not much, costs nothing. Anyway, yeah, you know, working outside has its benefits. It's nice, you're in the sun and stuff like that, but I gotta tell you, man, the black flies and the mosquitoes are unbelievable. Just they're chewing my elbow apart, man. I got little bites all over me. But in the sun it's not bad, but in the shade in the morning when you first go out, they're brutal. So that time of year, I guess. Yeah, so if you're not doing anything else, get out in the garage and build something, man. Later, guys.